That's exactly what we be getting frustrated about. Exactly.
Niggas always think shit is about them.
Love pills. I hate that people don't respect personal space. Dudes feel like it's mainly niggas. Let me just be real. Niggas is the most frustrating shit when you be on your period. Everything about them be frustrating. But little shit can bother you too. Like if I'm on my period now, I'm already not in the mood, and I go outside and a mosquito bite me, then mosquitoes gonna be fucking with me too. Like I'm not gonna fuck with nobody that day. Okay.
Perfect.
Hey everybody, this is Perky of Perky Perspectives. Thanks for joining me. So for everybody that is new to the podcast, please follow at Perky Perspectives on Instagram, as well as my personal page, Perky Sexy Cool on Instagram. Also subscribe to the podcast, which is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Pandora. You can visit the Patreon at patreon.com/PerkyPerspectives, Radio Public. I also go on Periscope sometimes, and then my website, perksofwellness.org. And so just to highlight the Patreon, it's just very important to have patrons and to have people that support the podcast because it allows for me to do more things with it. It takes a lot behind the scenes to keep up with it, such as editing, and sometimes I'll bring in other people to help with the editing. I'm also looking to get a space because I'm creating the Perky Perspectives Network. So for people that are looking to get into podcasting but need some help, need a place to record, need to know how to do their notes, anything like that, like I'm going to be setting all of that up with you. And so, like I said, anything helps. So even if you can do $1 a month, like it will go a long way. And it also just shows support. Outside of that, I am also the nominations director for Black Pod Awards. So you can find that at blackpodawards.com and Black Pod Awards on social media platforms. The ceremony will be September 27th. So applications are open right now. Please go and apply. Tell your friends about it. Uplift the award ceremony because we need more representation. So it's very important. And also one of my affiliates is the For Us Nation. So you can find that on Instagram at FORUS, the number 4US. And the website is forusnation.com. If you are a Black person that has a business and you want to be found by other people, or even if you're just a creative, you're a freelancer, anything like that, you can add yourself to the directory. We also have a place for allies because we all need support and help. So if you are an ally, hey, then please join and add your business on there as well and help to push out the website so that we can find each other. You know, that's really the thing. It's a push-up game. We want to be able to identify who's there for us, who we can buy from, where we want to spend our dollars. So that's very important. And this is the Love Period episode. So please go to tinyurl.com/love-period-project. You can find feminine hygiene products. You can find educational materials for having the talk. Or if you're a father and you don't even know where to start, you can go there. And if you just want to donate, you can donate there. And so right now I'm actually doing a campaign. So I'll be pushing that out on the Patreon and on my social media platforms really soon. And it's basically, I want to be able to provide more kits to more people and make sure that there's more funding going into our feminine hygiene and taking care of our bodies. Because it's a lot going on right now. And to still have to worry about where you're getting your money to take care of your body is something that we don't usually want to have to think about, but we have to. Some of us every month, some of us like me every 3 months, but either way, it's still there. So tinyurl.com/love-period-project, and everything is in the show notes. So today's guest is Amanda Webster. You can find her at amandawebsterhealth.com and on Instagram, Amanda Webster Health. And she also has a YouTube channel, Natural Mental Health Healing. She's a certified mind, body, and wellness coach, and she's also one of Arizona chapter leaders of Days for Girls. Hey, Amanda.
Hello, I am so honored after all that to be considered to be here today. It's awesome.
I know, I say
you said that's going to be in the show notes, right? Because I'm excited to look into the stuff that I hadn't heard about yet.
Yeah, I'm going to put everything in the show notes. And I know I push out a lot, but I'm like, let me just get it all in the front so that everything for the episode is just about you as my guest.
Oh, I actually love it because you seem to have the passion that I do, that you're like, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and this cause is important, and then you just get so passionate about all that. I love it.
Right. The only difference is you have a child, and I don't know how you feel. So I'm like,
well, he actually is involved sometimes. He loves to get involved and help with a lot of these causes, so that helps out.
that's really good. So yeah, to start, so it's a love period project, and I guess you could speak about being a parent too, but to start, what was your introduction to period?
Well, obviously my own. My introduction was my own period when I think I was about 11 or 12, and fortunately, my mom had told me about the menstrual cycle and what that was, so it wasn't a huge shock to me. And I remember going out to the kitchen and coming up to my mom and going, Mom, I think I know why I've been so grumpy lately. And she just smiled at me. She said, okay, and like gave me a hug, and it was no big deal. And we went and bought pads, and that was that. And I kind of thought that that was the experience that every girl had, you know, that they had the support of a parent, they had somebody that told them what it was, and it wasn't, you know, a big shock or a big deal. And when I started doing my work with Days for Girls, actually the reason I started doing my work for Days for Girls was when I realized that that's not the case. Not everybody's so lucky to have such an awesome experience with a mom or some kind of motherly figure to teach them that.
Right. And you know, that's funny you said that, because I actually did an episode, or I did an interview where I was a guest on Mother Love Show, who is like a radio personality in LA where I'm from. And she said her mom never had periods. Actually, her mom didn't even think she could have children. And when she met her husband, he didn't think he could have children either. So it was like she never experienced it. And then they ended up having 6 kids. And now she has daughters that she had to explain periods to. And she was like, baby, I don't know what that is. Like, it was like, I didn't go through any of that. So yeah, it's like some of it is because of like lack of experience, which is rare. Like, that's not as common. Or it's like people just don't, like, I mean, definitely depending on the time frame that you grew up, like they didn't even say pregnant, they said expecting. So it was like even the terms around stuff was like very.
I remember that on I Love Lucy, how she said she was with child, she couldn't say she was pregnant. Yeah, right. I remember that.
Right, they didn't even have beds that was attached because you couldn't even look. Like, it's like, we married. Like, people can't.
You have a baby. We know this happens.
Right, y'all know what's going on in the room, right? So yeah, so did you start Days for Girls, or not started, but did you join Days for Girls before you became a mom or after?
It was after I became a mom. I was on a website called Free Cycle, where you could get free stuff that people were giving away. It's kind of like Craigslist, but everything's free. Or you could donate stuff. And I was donating a lot of stuff at the time. I was kind of going through this purge phase. And I had fabric that my mom had collected over the years. And I didn't know what to do with it because I didn't just want to throw it away, but I wasn't a sewer or anything. So I was like, okay, what can I do with this? So I went on Free Cycle, and I ironically found this girl who was looking for different types of fabric for a project. And I said, oh, what's the project? And she started telling me about it, about Days for Girls, and how these girls in a lot of these other countries, number one, they don't know about their menstrual cycle. And if they know anything at all, they think that when they start their period, it's either a curse from God, or they have AIDS, or it's some kind of really terrible disease. Yeah, in a lot of these areas, they believe that they're dying, or that they're being cursed for being dirty. Oh, wow. Lots of terrible things surrounding it, and they don't have access to feminine hygiene products. And when they do have access to feminine hygiene products, they often have to give their bodies to authority figures, like at school and stuff, to get feminine hygiene products so that they can go to school. Because obviously,
the bodies like have sex.
Yes, they have to have sex with older men, like authority figure
men.
Because
in some countries they believe that you to cure like sexually transmitted diseases and stuff like that, you have to have sex with a virgin.
Yes,
like
yes, and they believe that a period makes a girl dirty, so the only way to cure her of that is to have sex with her. And the biggest problem with that, other than the obvious ethical issues surrounding that, is a lot of these people are HIV positive in countries where HIV is just running rampant. So this can be a death sentence to these girls just to get feminine hygiene products, just to get what they need to be able to go to school, because when they're on their menstrual cycle, they can't go to school. So they miss 5 or 6 days a month of school, and then of course they fall behind. Then of course they end up dropping out, not being able to pursue an education. But it really bothered me because I was sexually assaulted at 16. So to think that these girls are giving their bodies just for something as simple as feminine hygiene, I'm saying, okay, if there's something I can do about this, I've got to do something. I've got to put my, I don't want to say put my money where my mouth is, because it wasn't really a money issue, but I really need to walk the walk here, because it really just devastated me to know that girls were doing this just for something so basic.
Right. And that's even more terrible. Like, one day you start bleeding from a spot that you didn't know you could bleed from. So that's already traumatic enough. And then to help cure the trauma from that experience, you become traumatized more.
Yeah, by being sexually assaulted. Yeah, it's horrific, and I feel like anyone that cares about, any type of women's rights or feminism or any of that, this should be an issue that we're concerned about. But to be truthfully honest, I didn't even think about this. I didn't think about the fact that there were girls across the globe that didn't have access to feminine hygiene. I didn't think that this was an issue. I just had never really stopped to think about it. Once you stop to think about it, you say, oh, duh, these people don't even have access to clean water and food. Of course they don't have access to feminine hygiene kits. So with Days for Girls, we sell reusable feminine hygiene kits for these girls, and it lasts them about 2.5 years. And of course, we replenish them, or we teach them how to make more themselves so that they can continue having these kits and providing these kits for the communities. And that's really powerful, to either be able to give this to them and then be able to teach them how to do it, for themselves, so that they can continue creating it for other women in their communities.
Yeah, so it seems like we both have similar hearts, because basically that's how I felt too. Like, well, my introduction into even thinking about it was, I was like in New York. I was living in New York, and I was on the train one day, and this lady got on the train, and she was blind, and she was asking for feminine hygiene products. Like, she was saying that she was homeless and everything, but she was also blind, and she was like, this is just what I want. Like, and the woman in me was like, wow, like, that's like just going down to your basic like feminine needs. Like, look, I am homeless, I am doing all this stuff, but look, can you just give me some period products? Because right now that's my issue. And I was just like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that part of being homeless. Like, obviously you're just like, okay, they don't have a house, they don't have as much access, like they may be in need of money or whatever other issues come with being homeless. But I'm like, duh. Like, and it's funny because people readily give like condoms, male condoms to be specific. They'll give male condoms out like it's nothing to people that are experiencing homelessness. But it's like,
really? I didn't know that was a thing either.
Yeah, like, but you're not gonna give me a pad? Like, I still have to pay for that? Or, I mean, I don't see it as much, and right now nothing's open really like that. But when I would go out, sometimes you'll go to the bathroom and then you will have to pay for those products. And it's just like, come on now, like, I'm bleeding. Like, okay, like, I don't remember if I told this story on my platform before, but I visited in Europe. This was maybe like 2 years ago. I went to Belgium, and I actually met up with a friend that I knew. And so he took me into a club in Rotterdam, which is in Belgium. And so, like, I'm having a good time, and I'm wearing like a top skirt set. So I'm thinking I'm cute, like, like having a good time, right? All of a sudden, I was already on my period, sorry, but I was using a cup.
Yeah, that's what I use.
I like laughed or something like shifted, and it started, like, the blood started going down my leg. Yes. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed, right? So a few things about Europe. One, you have to pay to use the toilets.
Yeah.
So you pay one time at least, but then you can go in and out. So I don't think I already went in. And then two, this particular club, like, rather than them having the black bar napkins, they had white napkins. So I was just like, I was like, oh my God, like, this is about to be the most embarrassing thing. And so, like, that was like my thing towards, like, I'm looking for feminine hygiene products in a public space, and I don't have anything on me, and I don't have nothing to use. And, like, you already know, you use cups, like, yeah, it's like some stuff you gotta do just to make sure.
Yeah. You gotta rinse it out and stuff. You always have water on you. Yeah.
Exactly. So I was just like, what am I about to do? And that was just
wrapping toilet paper around your hand. I've been there.
Walking back and forth. They're like, what is she doing? Why she keep going back to the toilet? So it's like, I was like embarrassed. And that was just like a one incident. And so I'm like, to think of living in New York where you have snow, you have rain, you have all these things, you don't have a place to sleep, like, you're probably having to move a lot because you're on the trains and all that, and to be blind and to not have access. I was like, oh no, like, I want to help do something about this. And then I started doing research, and that's when I started to learn more about the people overseas dealing with this. And so I was just like, this is 20, whatever year it was, 2017 or something. And I'm like, and we're still dealing with this. Like, women still don't have our basic needs being met, and this is something that y'all know we have. Like, y'all want to have babies, y'all want to get with us, like, y'all know we have periods, right? Yeah, this is what comes with being a woman. So,
if we didn't have periods, you wouldn't be here.
thank you. So yeah. I know we had different ways of getting to it, but that's how we, I think, got to the same spot of this journey. Okay, so outside of that, you also are involved heavily in health. You do, you're a yoga instructor, right? Okay, and what else do you do in the health field?
So I'm a mind body wellness coach. My specialty is in holistic nutrition. I'm also a certified yoga instructor and a certified fitness instructor. So I have a lot going on there. My focus is more on mental health and bridging the gap between mental and physical health, showing people that what the choices you make physically are going to affect you mentally, and vice versa. The things that you do, the choices you make in your life, your lifestyle choices, how much time you spend online, how much time you spend watching the news, the things you choose to give your time and energy and focus to can affect you physically in the long run. So my big goal is just bridging that gap there.
Yeah, it's super important. I'm a mental health clinician, so I be telling people, like, affirmations and like it really does play a part.
There's science behind it. People think it's this new age woo-woo thing, but there's actually science behind affirmations and how it rewires the neurons and the connections in your brain. It really does have a scientific backing. Gratitude also has a scientific backing. They've done a lot of studies on gratitude and shown that it does have a very significant change in the way people respond. Even after the tests were conducted, months later, people responded more positively than they did before, and the depression rates dropped in these people. So they did one study where they had 3 different groups do writing exercises, like gratitude writing exercises, and it showed that the people that did the gratitude exercises actually had lower rates of depression afterwards. And these were people that going into the trial had some level of mild to moderate depression. And when they came out, they actually were able to, on some level, lower that depression, on a significant level, lower that depression and anxiety. And I know that that's been like completely life-changing for me. I do gratitude every morning and every evening. I have an app. It's called 365 Gratitude, I think. And that's been really useful for me to just shift that mindset, because there was a time where I was in that doom and gloom mindset when I was coming out of my own depression that I'd struggled with for as far back as I can remember, truthfully. I don't think there was a time I'd ever not been clinically depressed. And gratitude was really helpful to getting out of that. And I think there's a misconception. People think that gratitude is just being happy about everything all the time, but that's not the case. And even if you can't find something to be grateful for, just the act of looking for something to be grateful for is enough. Just taking the time to say, what do I have right now? What is going good for me right now? Because even if the whole world's falling apart. When my mom died back in 2007, my whole freaking world fell to rock bottom, like financially, emotionally, of course, then physically. Because of that, every aspect of my life just collapsed around me. I had no idea how to cope. I had no idea how to deal with this grief, or to deal even with my life in general at that point. But if I really connected it and I saw, you know what, there's people, complete strangers, that are helping me out of the kindness of their heart. The groundskeeper at the apartment complex I lived at the night my mom died came and watched movies with me on my living room floor just to make sure that I was okay. I had no real relationship with this guy. Like, we hadn't been friends or anything. It was just banter, you know, when I go check the mail, and I knew his name, and that was about it. We just have, you know, friendly banter now and then when I was out and about the apartment complex. But he sat on my living room floor. He slept actually on my living room floor to make sure that I was okay, and to help take care of me. The EMT in the ambulance, when they transferred me to a psych ward because they said I was a danger to myself after my mom passed away, because I say, and I quote, I said, "I feel like I have nothing left to live for." And they took that as I was going to leave that hospital right there and go kill myself. So they tried to put me in a 72-hour suicide watch. And I said, look, you literally just pulled me away from my mom's dead body. Like, they literally pulled me by my torso out of the room, away from my mom's dead body. And this is the first words that come out of my mouth. In shock. I feel like I have nothing left to live for. And they said, nope, you need to be held for 72 hours. And I finally, like, they transferred me to a psych ward. And I said, look, you want me to kill myself? Let something happen to my dogs that I have no way of feeding right now. That one dog was my mom's dog. That's the only living thing I have left of my mother. Let something happen to that dog because I can't get to her and I have no one to call to go take care of her because I don't know anyone here. I just moved to Sacramento at the time. Me and my mama just moved there in February, and she passed in June. So I had no friends. I didn't know anybody. Right. So I told this guy, yeah, you want me to kill myself, keep me here. And they released me in after 24 hours. But my point being was, there was something there for me to be grateful for. Even if it was the absolute worst moment of my life, there was still something there to be grateful for and to check in with. And that's really important, just looking for it, just looking for something.
Okay, so you said a whole bunch, so I'm gonna try to unpack everything because I'm
good at that.
I had like thoughts off of everything. If you saw my facial expressions, so so the first thing I want to say is yes, it's really important to even just look, and sometimes we have to just break things down to like the basics to feel gratitude and not compare. Because for example, like I had a friend recently tell me like, I always feel anxious. Like, I feel like I'm always going like this. And they did like this fluttering, for people listening on the podcast, they did this like fluttering movement with their hands. And I was just like, well, you don't have to look at that as something that's negative, because think about a hummingbird, think about like a butterfly. It's always fluttering. Like, it has to do that to continue to move. But it's a beautiful thing. We look at hummingbirds and we're like, oh my God, they're so pretty. Like, look at that. It doesn't have to be negative. So it's also sometimes just your perception.
Perspective, yep.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I definitely agree with that. I also had the thought that you were talking about the positivity, and I tell a lot of my clients to speak affirmations, even if they're not battling with depression or anything like that. I always somehow work into affirmations for them, because it's just putting it out there, putting the positivity out there. And we know this is proven, like outside of the studies that you have looked into and have read about. If you just go basic, like when you're growing a plant, what do they tell you to do? Speak to the plant, like, oh my God, look at you growing. Like, oh, is this a lemon? Like, you speak that positivity to it. And you're supposed to do that actually when you eat, into your water and things like that too. It's like this positive thing, that's vibration that you're supposed to be creating into your world. And it made me laugh internally when you said that it's been scientifically proven, because I'm like, it seems like every generation we have to relearn stuff, because it's like our ancestors already knew this.
Right.
So we don't need new age science to prove the things that we instinctively know, but I guess we do, because like we forget at some point in time and we have to relearn it. And then also with what you were saying about what you went through, this is why like mental health like really needs to continue to be enforced in this country, because I know as a clinician that of course you're going to make statements like that. Like, you just lost somebody really close to you. Like, my first thought shouldn't be, oh my gosh, she's going to commit suicide. Let me make this more traumatic for her and throw her away. Like, it should have been an assessment. It should have been a talk. It should have been bring in a clinical social worker or somebody to just speak to you.
And that's what I really needed, was somebody to talk to, because their theory is, okay, we're going to make sure she doesn't kill herself. Not we're going to make sure that her mental health is taken care of. Right. It's we're going to make sure she doesn't die on our watch. That's really what I felt like the concern was there. We don't want her to die on our freaking watch.
Yeah. I mean, and to be fair to them, like, when you do a job like that, you do become desensitized to certain things, and it just becomes about like, let me make sure I do my notes so that they can't say I did this. Right. So I do understand that part, but it's just like, nah, like, that's no, just no. Yeah. I'm really sorry that you had to go through that, and I'm glad that you found something like the gratitude. I actually wrote it, so that will be in the show notes for people listening, the app that she's speaking about, so that you guys have something also that you can possibly use. But yeah, so what was your first start? Because I did see that you had in your website that you battle with other things like substance abuse and things like that to kind of cope with whatever you were dealing with. So what was the first thing that you journeyed into wellness on? Like, what was the introduction for you?
When I was pregnant, I want to say like 7 months pregnant with my son, I was in that mindset of, oh God, I need to do something with my life. I was just really becoming a mix between nesty and a mix between, oh God, what am I going to do after the baby's here? And I need to make an identity for myself, and I really need to take the next step forward. For some reason, that's where my mind was. So I found a school near me, the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts, and the programs just really seemed to appeal to me because I'd already been introduced to yoga, and I knew that I needed to gain a little bit more education around mindset and around wellness in general, because I was raised in steak and potato country. My mom was a general manager at McDonald's for a while. I grew up on Big Macs, on chicken nuggets. I don't think I ever ate a vegetable. And I'm just like, okay, if nothing else, I can get some education for myself and then hopefully help a few other clients. So I graduated in 2011, and I did see some clients and stuff. My son was born the same year, so it was kind of really hard for me to really focus on, okay, let me build a clientele and everything, especially because I went through untreated postpartum depression. Okay. Of course I did. So I really struggled the next couple of years, and then I separated from his dad. Then I got another relationship that really didn't serve me. So for the few years after that, it really became, okay, it was just this roller coaster of rock bottom depression. Okay, I'm going to try and better myself. Rock bottom depression. Okay, I'm going to try and better myself. And it was 2017 when I had fallen already into a depression. So I was already in that dark space in my mind. And within a 2-week period, I ended up getting sued by one of my dog sitting clients because I was doing dog boarding and dog sitting. So I got sued by a dog sitting client. Yeah, they sued me for like $3,000 because their dog attacked their dog, but they said it was my fault that their dog attacked their dog, and they won, by the way. But so I get sued by this client. I got wrongfully accused of a DUI, and I got a car accident all within a 2-week period, right? So I am stressed to the absolute max.
That's and the only universe was trying to tell you something.
Yeah, and the only thing that I really had at the time was Linkin Park. Like, that's been since I was a teenager. That was the only healthy coping mechanism I had was, okay, I'm gonna turn on my music and I'm gonna just say screw the world and jam out to my music, because it validated me, like listening to the lyrics validated me, because clearly Chester, the lead singer, was struggling with a lot of the same depression, a lot of the same trauma and stuff that I had. So it was really validating for me. It really helped me get through that. And literally within this 2-week period, Chester Bennington commits suicide.
Yeah, I was about to say,
Yeah, the lead singer of Linkin Park commits suicide, and that was truthfully my downward spiral, where I started using again. I started using cocaine again. I was self-harming. I just spiraled because I was already in a dark spot. Then all this stuff happens to me. Then my security blankets just ripped out of my hands. So I had no idea how to cope. And I started turning to all of these vices because it was all I knew. I didn't know what else to turn to. And I went through therapy on and off half my life, probably more than half my life at that point. And I just never really found anything that was helpful. And I ended up meeting the surviving singer, Mike Shinoda, the following summer, so about a year later. I ended up meeting Mike, and that inspired me to go into recovery from self-harm and cocaine. So I was inspired at this point to stop doing that. The problem is there was an underlying reason that I was doing those things. That was a symptom. Those things were a symptom of the depression of these issues.
You were
right.
To be resilient, but
so yeah.
The exact issue.
Right. So when people are like, oh, that's great, you got clean or you stopped harming or whatever. Yes, that is a great step, but that doesn't, solve the issue. So this was summer of 2018. In fall of 2018, I ended up on a ledge ready to commit suicide because I just couldn't deal with it anymore. It's like, okay, now I don't have the self-harm. Now I don't have the drugs. I don't have my music really because Chester's gone, so I didn't feel the same connection. And my parents were gone. Everything was just gone. I felt just done. And I was on the ledge, and I just remember looking down, and I had two thoughts. One,
on a ledge.
Yes, I was literally on a ledge. It's not metaphorical. I was on an actual physical ledge in a Canadian hotel room looking down at the roof ready to end my life. And there were two thoughts in my mind. One was, I hope this doesn't hurt because I don't want to hurt anymore. And the other was, I'm doing this for my son. So everybody that thinks suicide is selfish, screw you. You don't get it. You need to take a step back, because most of the time when people are in that state of mind, they're doing that because they feel like they're a burden on other people. They feel like those people are better off without them. So in that mind state, in that moment, I felt that my son would be better off without me, that I was just up as a mom, that I just couldn't do anything right, that I wasn't doing anything for him, that I was just, hindering his life and hindering his growth. So that was my breaking point. And the only thing that brought me down off that ledge, ironically, a lot of people would say this is a miracle. I don't know what I believe in, so I don't know what to call it, but Lincoln Park turned out on outside my door in that very moment. At that exact moment, while I was standing on that ledge ready to end my life, Lincoln Park turned on right outside my hotel room door. And I was just, at first I was kind of in shock. I thought, okay, am I just hearing this? Is this the tape that's going in my head in those last moments? You know how they say that your life replays before you in your last moments? I said, oh, my life's theme song apparently is Linkin Park. Awesome. So I think I got down just to look to see if it was real. I'm sitting there going, oh my God, it's like Chester standing outside my door right now. What's going on? Is
that would be really
an angel?
Did you already go? Like,
yeah, and it freaks me out. And I remember I stepped down, I went to the door, I opened the door, and there's a cleaning crew there, which I'd been there 3 days. I didn't even know there was a cleaning crew. I'd never seen anyone. There weren't any workers around the hotel unless you called them. Like, people just weren't out and about. It wasn't that type of hotel. And I looked at them, and clearly I'm a mess. I mean, I literally just almost took my life. So I'm a mess. I look like 10 miles bad road. And they're probably looking at me thinking, oh God, crazy American chick, crazy like junkie. I don't know what's she gonna do. And I just had a really brief interaction with them in French. I said, oh, c'est ma chanson préférée, which means it's my favorite song. And they said, ah bon, which is the equivalent of, oh, really? And I kind of went back inside and fell apart. And I had to hit that rock bottom to start bringing myself back out. And the reason that I tell that is because that was where I realized that some of this was on me. Like, I went back, I saw my mental health professional, and I said, I'm tired of people trying to keep me safe from myself. I want to be happy. I don't just want to be safe from myself. I want to be happy. And my mental health professional, I kid you not, said, that's not possible with your diagnosis, with your, I was diagnosed as having an SMI. So she said, that's not really possible. Like, you're never going to be able to really live a fulfilling life or a quote unquote normal life. And that was my Elle Woods in the bunny costume when Warner was telling her that she's not good enough for law school or smart enough for law school in Legally Blonde. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but that was kind of my, oh, no, let me show you what Amanda Webster can do. And I walked out of there and I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I had to make some changes. And when I really stopped to think about it, I realized that I had to get back to basics, that I wasn't giving my body and mind the fuel it needed to really function at full capacity. And once I kind of made that connection, realized, wait a second, this is I'm not saying that it was my fault that I had a mental health condition. It definitely was a product of a lot of different things, but the choices that I was making certainly weren't making it any better. Right. And I kind of had that solidified when I reached out to Diamond Dallas Page, who is kind of a wrestling legend, and I had corresponded with him through his DDP yoga program because I got certified as a DDP yoga instructor. So him and I corresponded a little bit off and on with that. And I didn't tell him the depth of how bad things were, but I just said, look, I'm kind of having this hard time emotionally, trying to get his advice because my dad had passed away in 2005, so I'd lost both my parents. And my dad and I grew up on wrestling, so this is kind of the closest thing I had to fatherly advice was my wrestling heroes that I had in my life. And he told me, you know, you did this to yourself and it's on you to get out of it. And there's nobody else in the world that could have told me that I wouldn't have wanted to punch in the face, but let's be honest, you know, he probably could have, well, definitely could have.
Yeah, but you couldn't take him anyways.
Yeah, I couldn't take him anyways, but I feel like that's kind of what my dad would have told me, is my dad always had a way of telling me what I wanted to hear without lying to me. And I feel like that's really what, deep down, what I wanted to hear. I wanted somebody to tell me that in a way that I would receive it. And if most of my friends would have told me that.
Our parents are, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. They know us well enough to where they know when we're bullshitting. We're like really happy, sad and stuff. So they're really the only ones that you can't fight. Because, you know, you wouldn't want to do, I mean, if you have a good relationship with your parents, that you can't fight, that will tell you something like, nah, this is on you. And you be like, oh! No, you're right.
Yeah, I guess it is. And you might get mad. You know, you might get mad for a minute. You might go, oh, no, it's not. But then when you really stop to think about it, I mean, how many things have you realized as an adult that your parents were right about? That you went, oh, shit, I really thought that, and they were right.
And I'm not going to really admit it, but when I become mature enough, I will. But yeah, no, it's been a lot. Like, and I've actually gone to my mom and been like, yeah, whatever, like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna just do what you said because whatever, like, but it's just
You
like,
know.
yeah, but I mean, to be fair, like, they are correct. And you know, even sometimes when they tell you, like, yeah, they probably telling the truth, but I don't want to do it that way. Because you just think, like, I'm going to show them I can do my own thing. And then you do this Uber loop. And you come back and you're like, okay, yeah, I got all these experiences that just told me that if I would have just went this way.
Yeah, if I would have just done what you said, it would have been a lot easier.
Right.
Yeah.
But life isn't like that, sadly.
Yeah. So I really, I wouldn't have accepted that had I heard it a year prior, but hearing that was kind of my ass kicking that I needed to move in that direction and really start reanalyzing what I was doing with myself. So I know that's a very long way to get to the answer of what you asked, but that was where I really had to reanalyze the wellness parts of my mental health journey, because I went to school for this. I literally went to school to be a mind body wellness coach. I literally went to school for holistic nutrition. But then somewhere along the way, I started lying to myself, saying, "Oh, well, you know that cupcake's gluten free and organic and vegan, so that's healthy, right? That's health food. These cupcakes are healthy, macaroni's health food." And I wasn't getting, you know, the nutrients my body needed to be able to really function, to be able to really combat those symptoms of anxiety and depression.
Yeah, and I mean, you said a few things that again I want to highlight. So, for one, I think when people say, you know, like they're not gonna make the change until they're ready, or you know, like they have to be. This is really what they mean, you guys. Like, it's not like because there's been people. I mean, so like I said, I'm a mental health clinician. So there's the stages of change that people go through when they are trying to switch a habit, and it could be as intense as having a substance abuse issue, or it could be as minute as just, you know, like if you're a little kid, you need to brush your teeth in the morning and you don't brush your teeth. Like, it could be that small. But basically, in between every phase is relapse. But what we have to understand is it's not just a decision. Like, yeah, that is a big part because there's pre-contemplation, there's contemplation, and then there's action. So there is there is the decision aspects of it. But to highlight, when they say like it's up to the person to really make the change, it's not just them waking up one day and being like, oh, I want to be different. Because I'm sure there was plenty of times throughout that whole journey where you was like, I want to stop doing this. That's not what really triggers the change. It's like it has to be this full sorry, something sound like it failed. It has to be this like full like process that you have, because like you said, it's self. It is truly self. Like it's the affirmations that you did, the gratitude that you're doing, the physical side of it, the eating side of it, the act, like everything that goes into you, like it has to be there. And so like people, but it's a step, it's a process. Like there's steps to it, there's things that you could be doing, there's paths that you'll go that fit you the most. Like for me, I meditate in a certain way that if I brought somebody else on to meditate, they'd probably be like, nah, this ain't it. Because that's not for them. Like, like if I was standing on the ledge and Linkin Park played, I probably wouldn't even have paid attention, because that's not like the people that like talk to me. So it's just like everything goes into like what kismetly needs to happen for you to get to that path. But just to highlight for people that have something that they're trying to fix, like it is a full process. But I think one of the keys that a lot of people need to know is you have to, and I say this like almost every episode, so I hope y'all getting it, you have to write it, think it, and say it. So when you think it, you're starting to give your mind another alternative, which is like kind of what happened to you. Like you have to have like this introduction that things could be better. So then you start thinking about it and you really start breaking it down, but then you have to write it because you have to make it make sense. You have to really fully plan it. Okay, I have this addiction, but I'm trying to get to here where I'm not tied to this addiction. So what are the things? Solve the math problem. What are the things that I need to do to carry that X over here?
Work backwards. Yep.
Yeah. So you got to break it down. And then you have to start telling people. You have to say it. You have to have some accountability to you, to your process. And so it's like this whole thing. But that's good. And I like that you found sources from people that you wouldn't have ever like thought would be, oh, somebody else I want to highlight. Your groundskeeper. There's so many things that's dope about what he did. One, that he was nobody that you knew personally to even think to seek help from, but also that you were safe, because so many places in that story could he have turned out to be another person that caused you more harm and more trauma during that time frame, and he was safe to you and for you that whole time. And like, so I just want to like hand clap to whoever that person was.
Tom, his name was Tom. I'll never forget Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Tom, for that. Like, as a woman, like, I really felt that, because I was just like, there's been times to where like I wanted to feel safe by somebody, and it's like, but like,
Yeah.
and so for you to have that, that's really nice.
I think that most people don't realize there are crappy people that don't understand, mental health. And they might not even be crappy people, they just might not understand mental health. But for the most part, I could literally walk outside my house right now, and if I find someone, with the COVID thing going on, but if I walk outside my house right now and I find someone and I say, look, can you please just talk to me? I just need someone to talk to me. I know you don't know me, I don't know you, but I'm really having a hard time. I like your shirt. Can we talk about your shirt? It might be weird for people, but nobody is going to say, go die. Nobody is going to say, go kill yourself. Even if you go on Facebook and you find a group of people that are either like-minded or that have a similar interest or something. I mean, I could go on a Lincoln Park fan page right now and say, hey guys, I'm struggling emotionally. And I'd probably have 100 freaking people message me and say, hey, do you need to talk? Do you need help? There's always somebody that's willing to talk to you, whether it's a fan on a Lincoln Park page or your groundskeeper at your apartment complex. Somebody is willing to talk you through that process and to help you get to a place where you can think, what's my next step?
Yeah, I mean, and that's definitely a real positive outlook to it. I mean, I would say this though, for people that
be safe.
Be safe, and you might try it and it doesn't necessarily work for you, but like she said, like, it's not, basically you miss every shot you don't take. So you have to put, it's uncomfortable, it could be embarrassing, it's very vulnerable to put yourself out there to people for them to actually extend themselves to you, but you won't ever get that compassion if you don't put yourself out there first. And maybe the first person you go up to is like, are you crazy, get on my face? Because look, if you live in New York, maybe you can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, there are places for this, but like, you have to try. Like, you have to try, and you have to be okay with rejection. You have to be okay with some people not understanding, because people are dealing with their own stuff. But when it does happen and you do make that connection, oh, it's like really beautiful. Like,
and I think it's about being smart where you go. Because if you went, outside a grocery store and did this, people might be, I was kind of exaggerating when I said literally walk out my door. But if you went, outside, say, a yoga studio or someplace with people that have that kind of open-mindedness like that, there's definitely a lot of options. Or even if you went to, worst case, a hospital, and said, hey, I'm having these thoughts, I just need someone to talk to, they're going to have professionals that can help you, if it's really bad enough. There's always an option. Suicide, I don't always love the suicide hotline, so I kind of think of that as a very last resort, because I never had really good luck with those people. But if you really just need somebody to talk to, if that's all you need is someone to talk to, that's great to have someone just to, get everything out on.
They have apps, like, and if for me personally, like, and I'm a therapist, so like, I know, and like you said, you like, I went to school for this, like, me too, like, I beat myself up over things that I'm like, I know I'm supposed to be doing better on these things, because I literally tell people this all the time. So it's just like, there is like this like things where you feel like you could fix yourself sometimes, because like, I already went to school for this, so I should already know how to do it. But you do need to seek help. So like, for me, when I started to look for therapy and stuff like that, I'm like, well, I want to connect with people that I feel like would know my personal like struggle, not because they went through it, but just because we have similar backgrounds. So that might be a thing too. And so like she said, there's like support groups that you can find that are just that. So like for people of color like me, like there's Black therapists. Like if you want somebody that looks like you when you speak to them, or you could try to get a woman therapist if you're a woman, or you might want the exact opposite. So it's just like, there are things, and I will put some in the show notes, like she said, suicide hotline, so I will drop that for people that might be battling depression or have suicidal ideations or thoughts and or self-harm and things like that. So I will drop those in there. But support groups are always good. There's apps now. There's apps now that you could just text. Some people, they don't like to talk, so you could just text people and they'll just text you back and try to help you work through some of these issues. But I would say, if you feel that they're not adequately addressing the things that you feel like you need help with,
find someone else.
Hire. Yeah, and call, if you have medical insurance, call your insurance provider and see what your insurance covers, because they have started putting laws into action that cover mental health. So you should have a mental health aspect of it. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's really positive. There's always options. The thing that I realized through my journey is that you just need to keep trying. If you try something, it doesn't work, try something else. Try again. Try in a different way. Just keep trying, because it does get better, and you can get through it if you just put the energy and the effort in, you know. And I know it's hard when you don't have a lot of energy. I got asked so often, you know, what I did to, like, the steps I took to really get out of that. But I literally developed an entire online course for it. It's called Happiness Boost. I just dropped it last month. But just as a side note, I do want to offer, you know, myself, if you need someone to talk to and you can't think of find anyone else, feel free to message me on social media, or just drop me a message on my website. You can email me on my website. If you do need a little bit more and you want to kind of take the steps I took, I'd also like to offer 20% off to all of your listeners for the Happiness Boost course with Perky20, the code Perky20. So.
Ooh, look at that.
And I actually wanted to offer something special for you specifically, considering the theme of this episode. I have 100 kits, the Days for Girls kits, the full feminine hygiene kits, and I wanted you to be the person to select where these 100 kits go.
Nice. Okay.
You don't have to tell us now.
Yeah, no.
You can send me an email later or tell your listeners
How
later.
many? 100?
Yep, 100 kits.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's really nice. Okay, so yeah, I will definitely reach out to my network and see where will be the best place. But thank you for offering that. Thank you for offering the code. I'm gonna highlight that and make sure everybody sees that, so that people can get that, because I do think that's helpful, and it's kind of like a coaching. Well, you're offering yourself, so I'm putting it out there as like a slight coaching. But the what you say, the happiness boost, is there like a quiz that they have to do for it? Like, is there anything that goes into?
Well, there is a free download. So if you go on my website, you can download the free How to Improve Your Focus and Boost Your Happiness. And that's kind of a little introduction to it. So that's completely free. And that gives you kind of the introduction to it. If you click on the programs part of my website, it'll give you the DL on the Happiness Boost program. It gives you 5 ways to improve your happiness right this very second. And the 3 things that affect our personal happiness the most, that affect us from attaining our personal happiness the most. So completely free. And then if you want to sign up to the program, if you have more questions about the program, a lot of that is outlined on the website that will give you an idea of what it's about. But essentially, yeah, it's just really the steps that I took from going to being completely depressed, ready to take my life, to living a happy and fulfilling life, because it is possible. And maybe that's not your journey. Maybe you're not depressed, you're just kind of complacent, and nobody wants to live complacently ever after. And that's what I say, you know, nobody grew up dreaming of living complacently ever after. And there's ways to move forward, move higher on your happiness spectrum with that. Or maybe there's just certain areas of your life that aren't really fulfilling you, or that aren't really working for you, and we can definitely work those out too. So it's just, how can you get as high as possible in your own personal happiness spectrum?
Right. And yeah, and I'm sure it's a lot of people that this is coming up, a lot more.
Oh yeah, I'm getting a lot of messages right now during this time.
I mean, it's good and it's bad, but I will say this, and I actually said this a couple episodes, so I'm gonna re-highlight it for my listeners, that, and you said this actually earlier, a lot of change that needs to happen first starts when you have that accountability talk with yourself. And like, I've had little talks here and there, but recently, actually maybe like a few weeks ago or however, I was like, dang, I really put myself in this position.
Yeah.
And
that's a hard thing to admit, but it's powerful.
It's so hard. It's so hard, because it's so easy to be like, if it wasn't for my stupid ex, I wouldn't be dealing with this, or stupid girl that I was friends with, like, whatever, you know, your story is. Like, yeah, it's so easy to be like, it's Trump's fault, you know? But like,
hashtag blame Obama.
Don't you dare. No, just kidding.
Totally joking.
But yeah, like, and that's what happened to me. It was just like, okay, yeah, no, they did these things, and I did make friends with these people, but I chose to let them in my life, and yep. I chose to do X, Y, and Z that allowed for this thing to happen. Oh, like, that's how it was. It was like, oh, okay. And then I was able to break down, okay, these are the things that I need to do now to not let this be my story. Like, it's okay that it's a section of my story. Like, yeah, it's embarrassing. I don't want to have to talk about it. But when I will, because it's gonna help somebody
Yep.
else, and it's gonna help me to not go back. But also, like, I don't want that to be my end. I need for it to be something else that comes from that. And so, like, that's a lot of it. So I definitely encourage everybody to go do the happiness boost download, so you can first get that first step, and then to use the Perky 20 code to go ahead and start your steps to reaching your happiness, because it's really important. Outside of that, oh, and just to highlight again, that's AmandaWebsterHealth.com. Everything's in the show notes. And like she said, you can reach out to her personally or on her social media, Amanda Webster Health. So is there any closing thoughts that you would like to leave people with before we end?
You know, going back to the whole menstrual cycle, I really just want to see the day that I can just say, hey, I'm on my period, and it not be a big deal, or that I can say, hey, I'm struggling mentally, and it not be a big deal. And I think the biggest thing that we can all do is just continue talking about it.
Yeah.
I am probably going to start my period in a few days, and that shouldn't be uncomfortable for anyone to hear. I mean, do I need to be screaming it from the rooftops? No, but have these conversations, talk to your friends, talk to your significant other, talk to people, and just be open and honest with what you're struggling with. If you're like, hey, I'm on my period and I need some dark chocolate or somebody's gonna die right now, like, that is completely okay. Well, don't kill anyone, please. Get your dark chocolate, get your vegan dark chocolate, but it's really important to just continue having the conversations and continue being open and continue letting other people know that you're a source that they can talk to if they need to. And if they do reach out to you, to just listen. They're not looking for you to solve their problems.
Right.
They're not looking for you to fix everything for them. They just need someone to listen to them. And for all the guys listening to this, first and foremost, kudos that you got this far. Second, you know, I know it can be uncomfortable, number one, to talk about periods. And I know it can also be uncomfortable to listen to someone not fix, because that's what guys do. You know, they really want to fix the problem. So if I say, you know, I'm struggling mentally, my partner's always going to say, what do you want me to do? How do I fix it? What do I change? I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to listen, maybe sit with me and talk to me about, I don't even care what, just talk to me right now. We can literally talk about different types of wine. We can talk about toads versus frogs. I don't care. Just talk to me about something. And that's really what I want people to remember, is we shouldn't be ashamed of being a woman. We shouldn't be ashamed if we have mental health struggles. I mean, right now, there's a global pandemic going on outside our window, and there's just so much going on in our world right now. We'd probably be weird if we didn't feel a little bit of that, you know? And taking care of ourselves during this time, allowing ourselves to feel, because we're going to feel anxiety, we're going to feel sadness, we're going to feel anger. It's human. Allowing ourselves to feel that, and then figuring out, okay, it's time to take the next step toward my happiness. It's time to boost that happiness.
Mm-hmm.
What's the next step?
Right. And just to add on top of that, for people that are looking to have those combos, one, for me, I mean, you see, I made a platform around it. I made an LLC around it. Like, I just made, like, I'm one of those people to where I'm like, nope, I'm just going to talk about it. You're going to have to deal. Like, but outside of that, as far as that combo, like, don't having to fix things, me and my friend actually started to have it be a part of our narrative, to when we want to just speak, we just say, hey, I'm just calling you just to vent. You don't have to give me any advice. Like, just like laugh or whatever, like whatever we need. Talk shit with me, you know what I mean? Like, and that's what we would do. So, you know, for some people that you need to like kind of reteach how to have that like type of openness in your relationship, feel free to say it. Like, make it a part of the communication, because that's how some stuff works out. You know, you need to actually say it. So, you know, don't feel afraid to have those combos. Like, again, some stuff is uncomfortable, but it's necessary. But yeah, get that happiness boost, everybody. And thank you, Amanda, for joining again. One more time, is Amanda Webster. It's spelled like how it sounds, but I will spell it. It's AmandaWebster. So it's AmandaWebsterHealth.com, Amanda Webster Health on IG, and Natural Mental Health Healing for YouTube. And she's also going to send me any other links that she needs for, like, you said, so, oh, the kits. So the Days for Girls, I'm going to have that in the show notes, and anything else that she feels would be helpful for you guys as an audience member. And again, go do the happiness boost with the code Perky20 so that you can get your 20% off discount. Thanks again for that. And I will be making an announcement probably by the time this airs, it should be known where the 100 kits are going to, so that we can do that. And I'll probably make some like social media flyers and stuff like that, so everybody can take advantage of everything that we talked about. But thank you for joining. I really appreciated this, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you so much. Have a good day, guys.
Bye.